in the water. However, there are 5 characteristics that we all share as mammals, so I'd like to go over all of those with you in a little bit more detail, starting with the fact that all mammals do give live birth. Mothers out in the audience will not be jealous to hear that a dolphin will give birth after about a 54-week-long or a little over a year-long gestation period. Now, these dolphin calves are born weighing between 20 and 30 pounds, and they come out at about 3 feet in length. And it looks like some of our boys are rolling over to show you that just like us, dolphins do in fact have belly buttons. Well, all mammals will also nurse their young, and a dolphin calf will nurse for about the first 1 to 3 years of their life. Now they do this by forming a small straw with their tongue to seal onto their mother's mammaries so that they ingest only that nutrient-rich milk and none of that surrounding salt water. Now this next characteristic might seem a little bit odd for dolphins to have, but at some point in our lives, all mammals do have hair. Now I'm sure many of you are looking down here and thinking, wait a second, I do not see a single hairy dolphin. And you are exactly correct. However, when dolphin calves are first born, they do have hairs in the form of whiskers along that rostrum or that bottleneck part of their face. Now these hairs will fall out shortly after birth, and we believe that they're there to help locate mother's mammaries when they are beginning to nurse. Well, this next characteristic is that all mammals breathe air using lungs. Dolphins do not have gills like a fish or a shark, and instead breathe air using the small opening on top of their head, also called their blowhole. Now this blowhole is situated so that the dolphins can come to the surface for a quick breath of air, allowing them to stay underwater for about 7.5 minutes. Now that breath of air is so quick that it only takes about a fraction of a second, so let's go ahead and listen in to just how quick that breath can be. Excellent demonstration, boys. Now it's a little known fact that dolphins do also lack vocal cords. So all of those clicks, whistles, and squeals that you hear them making are also coming out of their blowhole on top of their head. Now they do this by manipulating small air-like sacs located just below that opening, and I do believe that our boys have prepared a song for you all today. So once again, let's go ahead and listen in. Excellent harmony, boys. Now the last characteristic of being a mammal is that we are all warm-blooded, meaning that we do need to maintain a constant body temperature despite the surrounding environment. Now a dolphin's core body temperature is very similar to that of our own, somewhere in the mid to upper 90s. Dolphins stay warm in cooler waters due to a thick layer of blubber that is more dense than fat. In warmer waters, that blubber layer is thinner, and then as the water cools, they will increase their food intake, and that blubber layer will thicken. Now I know it can be very difficult for you to see that blubber layer, so I'd like to invite one of our boys to show it off for you all today. Well, next up I'd like to answer a very common question we get asked here at Gulfarium every single day, and that is, how do you train the dolphins to do all of the behaviors that we see in the show today? Now we train all of our animals here using operant conditioning, focusing on positive reinforcement. Now that simply means that we will reinforce or reward the behaviors that we would like to see, and we will simply ignore the behaviors that we would not like to see again, or we can even give them another chance or completely move on to something else. Now we break down all of our behaviors into what we call successive approximations, which is a fancy word for baby steps. So we break down all of the behaviors into small achievable steps and build on them over a period of time to get those more complex behaviors. Now one of the first behaviors that any of our animals learns here is called a target. That is simply asking them to touch their rostrum, or that bottleneck part of their face, to our flat open palm. Now from there we can move that target to different locations to shape many different behaviors, such as moving it up and down for a head shake yes, we can even move it side to side for the dolphin's favorite answer of no way. Or we can even move it around in a circle above their heads to shape a very adorable dolphin-style hula dance. today to demonstrate that training process, we're going to be breaking down a behavior for you that 2 of our dolphins are learning, known as a positional tail walk. Now, all of our dolphins already know this tail walk behavior from the docks straight across the habitat. So what we're working on now is getting them to go and initiate that tail walk behavior in different locations. So we're building on that tail walk behavior, and we will start by sending them from the docks, and then they will swim to the other side of the habitat and go parallel to our docks across the water. Now, what this finished behavior will look like is that they will be about 80% out of the water, and it honestly will look like they are walking on water. So you saw Sebastian just got that hand signal. Shane threw ice to let Sebastian know exactly where they wanted him to go, and then he got that whistle, which means that that was exactly what we were looking for, and he can come back to nudge it to get that reinforcement. Now it looks like we're going to give him another chance to practice that behavior because practice does make perfect. So again, he got that hand signal. He's headed over to where Shane is. And it looks like Shane is actually backing up to see if he can give Sebastian a little bit less information. Now it does look like he's looking for Shane, so he might have needed that extra help, which is completely okay. This is again a new behavior for Sebastian. So the step that we're working on right now is having him figure out exactly where in the habitat he needs to initiate that tail walk behavior. So Shane is serving as a visual or a tool for Sebastian to tell him exactly where he needs to be. So he did just show us that he does need a little bit of help finding out where he's supposed to go. But you can see that this time Shane did not throw that fish into the water, and he figured it out just by seeing exactly where Shane was standing. So he did exactly what we were looking for. Now we're actually going to work on going the opposite direction with Sebastian as well. So with this finished behavior, we want them to